Guys, welcome to the J and Danielle experience. Today's video is going to be a follow-up to my Santorini vlog where I did a Santorini dress photo shoot while I was on Virgin Voyages Resilient Lady. So I'm going to be talking to you guys about all the details, the mistakes I made. So if you watch the vlog, you know there were a lot of mistakes made. So I'm going to be talking about what I should have done and how you can get this photo shoot done too. So stay tuned. Welcome back. So I have prepared a list of questions here so I can stay on topic because I could talk about this thing all day. I feel like there are a ton of questions that were not addressed that I could not find an answer to anywhere. So that's definitely going to be the questions that I want to focus on and talk about. And there's one tip that I'm going to share in this video that is so crucial if you're on a cruise and wanting to do this. And I have not seen this tip anywhere. I use my cruise judgment to do this. And so you definitely want to stay tuned so that you can hear what that tip is, because I'm telling you, it makes a difference. I could not have done my photo shoot without it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what is a Santorini photo shoot. So a Santorini photo shoot to me is getting that flying dress and getting your photos with that beautiful like blue top and the Santorini aesthetic in the background. So they have what's called flying dress shoots, and I know they do them in like Jamaica now and some other beautiful places, but a flying dress shoot is basically just, you know, you can wear any type of like dress that poops out and flies, and they take pictures for you with you. But I feel like Santorini is the original place where this was done. Now, don't quote me on that, but I feel like it's like the original place because you just hear Santorini dress like no matter where you go. And so with the Santorini dress shoot, what you have to do is you have to schedule with a company to do it for you. And so one of the questions that I have received that I want to answer is like, what are you paying for when you're doing a Santorini dress shoot? And so what you have to keep in mind is the pricing can be all over the place because they add different plans, just like you would with any other photo shoot. And so the biggest thing to remember is the basics of what you want to make sure are included when you reach out to a company is there's going to be a photographer, so someone who has to actually take your photos. They need an assistant. So this is huge with those dresses because the dresses fly and they poof. And the way that the photos are taken is that the assistant throws the dress and the photographer, like they count off to each other. So it's like 1, 2, 3, they throw the dress and then the photographer snaps the photo. So you need that assistant because the dress has this long, beautiful train on it. And that is like the whole thing is you want the dress to be flying in the photos. The other thing you're paying for is for the dress rental. So that's typically like maybe $100 of the cost. That's what I've seen on average. So you're paying for the dress rental, you're paying for the photographer, assistant, the photos. So the photos are going to come back that the photographer takes. And usually they're including editing on so many of your photos. So maybe they don't edit all your photos, but they'll edit some of them for you. So that is one of the big things to remember is that those 4 things are included in that cost if you're working with a great company. So I've seen Santorini dress shoots cost anywhere from $900 to, man, down to what I pay. Like the cheapest I found was what I paid was $270. And I did that with a group. And so I'm going to address that a little bit later, how I got that rate and everything, because I don't know if that's a locked in rate. So don't quote me on that. But the next thing I want to answer is how do you find a company to use? Now, I will tell you guys, if you type in Santorini dress on Instagram, there are so many options that are going to come up. They're super overwhelming. That's actually how I found the company that I went with. But the good thing was I saw someone tag them. And so I kind of had that as backup. So what you really want to do is once you get into the mindset of I'm going to do this dress shoot, you want to go to Instagram, type in Santorini dress, look at the photos, like look at the photos, look at the pages, look at the number of followers they have, and just see like who did the aesthetic that you want. Like look for, I know with us as African Americans, like we have to make sure we show up a certain way on camera. So you want to get a photographer that knows how to make our skin pop and show up good, because sometimes photographers tend to gray us out. So you want to look at past shoots of things that they've done. You want to look at dress colors to kind of decide what goes well and what aesthetic you want. But once you type that name into Instagram, you're going to get so many options. It's going to be so overwhelming. And from there, you really just want to start DMing them to find a price point that you're comfortable with. And if you are balling and you don't have to find a particular price point, then you want to find the person who takes the best photos. I know some of the most popular companies are the one I use. So Goddess Santorini. And I think there's one that's just called Santorinidress Company. Those are the two that came up most frequently that I saw. But Santorinidress Company is pretty expensive. I will tell you that. And so with Goddess Santorini, I was able to DM them and coordinate everything. And once you DM them, they're going to send you, you're going to tell them what day that your cruise is going to be in port. They're going to tell you available times. And you're going to try to like kind of select through there. And then they're going to send you a palette that tells you like the different dress color options. So the next thing I want to address is the dress and sizing and things like that. From my experience with Goddess Santorini, there is not different sizes of the dress. Like you tell them the color you want and that's that. I will say the dress is very big and it's made in like a tied up way. So it's not a wrap dress because you do step into it. But they have to tie you up and wrap you in it. So that's important to know. So I don't think you have to worry about size or anything. So if you're like plus size and you're worried about, is this dress going to fit me? I think you're going to be okay. And let me just say this for my plus size girlies. That dress is so much material and there's so much going on. That dress looks amazing on plus size people. Like it looks amazing on us because let me tell you, all that wrap and all of that material, you will get eaten up and lost in there. I'm telling you. But it looks good on everybody. But I'm just saying, like, if you're plus size, definitely do not steer away from this shoot and think, oh, it's not going to look good on me. I'm telling you, it looks good on everybody. So the next thing I want to talk about is, let's see, we talked about what all is included, the options of colors, how to actually navigate this with a cruise. Now, you guys will see in the video, I was very much last minute. First off, I didn't download WhatsApp, so I didn't have a means of communication other than through Instagram, which was okay. I did turn on wireless service on my phone. So I use a certain, I wish I could remember the name, but I use a certain plan with my cell phone provider, which is Xfinity, but every company has this option where you can travel international. It's called Global something. And I'll put the name somewhere up here. But with that plan, you can use your phone while you're in another country or use your phone while you're traveling, and there's no additional cost. Now, make sure you put your phone in airplane mode when you're on a ship, because ship travel with roaming is not the same as when you're like walking on land in Greece or in Athens. So remember that. But you can use that global travel plan, and it's usually somewhere like around $10 a day. So I like to actually be able to use my phone like I regularly would at home while I'm traveling. So I used that so that I was able to still access my Wi-Fi and still access my Instagram even when I got off the ship. And so, you know, I set all of that up and had that good to go once I started DMing the actual company. But the thing that you want to do is you want to give yourself at least 2 hours when you get off the ship to get off the ship and get to whatever the meeting spot is. I have found, I'm an iPhone user, but I found that Google Maps is a lot more accurate and a lot easier to use when I'm traveling. Now, I don't know why. I don't know what the difference is, what the disconnect is with Apple Maps, because I use that everywhere else when I'm like domestic. But internationally, I have found that it's a lot easier and a lot more accurate to use Google Maps. Maybe because it's Google. I don't know. So you want to download Google Maps also. So now there's 2 apps. So WhatsApp and Google Maps for sure. But you definitely want to download Google Maps and have that. And what you want to do when you DM the company that you're going to work with is you want to get a specific meeting location. And hopefully you can get a place that's like a business or a restaurant. I would steer away from streets, to be honest. Maybe it's just me, but I really struggle to type in the streets that are in Athens because first off, they're long. Like Greek, I don't understand Greece, like Greek alphabet. What's up with all the letters? Why are words so long? So, you know, you typing in like an 11-letter street name, it can get confusing and you have to look and all that back and forth. So I would recommend getting the name of a restaurant. For me, my photo shoot was in Ia. and the meeting spot was called Luno Cafe or Luna Cafe, one of those two. I'll put the video in here, but that was the meeting spot. So being able to type that into Google and being able to tell the taxi service that I used that was my meeting spot worked perfectly, rather than trying to give them an address in the street. As far as getting to Ia, so there were a couple options that could have been used. So there are two different spaces that are kind of like the known cities where these dress shoots are done. So one of them is Ia, and once again, y'all, I have not researched how to say the name. Immervalia, I think is how you say it, like Immervalley or Immerval, yeah. It's one of those two, something like that. But those are the two most popular spots to get these dress photo shoots. Ia has what I have been told is the most beautiful views, and because I took my photos in Ia, I'll have to agree. So when you book for that, you want to either you can do an excursion with Virgin Voyages or your cruise line and book transportation over to Ia. That is what I recommend. That is my top recommendation for what you're going to do. Now, the problem that you may bump into is the timing may be different than what you need. So we arrived with Virgin in Santorini at 9 a.m. and we didn't leave until 9 p.m. And so what I love about the cruises over there is that you spend such a long time in each of the ports that it gives you time to explore and do something else. So going back, if I could do it differently, I definitely would have gotten off the ship earlier so that I could explore Santorini and then know that my dress shoot was in the afternoon. Now, as far as what time should you schedule your dress shoot for, like I said, give yourself at least 2 hours to get off the ship. Being that Santorini is a tender port, so they actually cannot dock the ship in Santorini, like right next to the, like, I guess it's coastline or next to where land is. So they're like hovering in the middle of the ocean. And so you have to take a small tender boat to get over to land. So you want to give yourself time to do that, because you'll have to do that. And then once you arrive over at land, you have to get to the cable car. Now, this is where issues come in, because the cable car takes you up to where the actual city is, because there isn't much there once you first arrive on your ship at that coastline. But that cable car is going to take you up to where everything is. So once you get your taxi to get to Ia, or if you're going to just hang out there in Fira, then, you know, you're going to have to go up that cable car. And typically that cable car is where the issues come in, because everything that I researched and saw says on average, it's usually like a 2-hour wait to get up or down that cable car. So this is the tip I was telling you guys made the world of difference that I haven't seen anyone talk about. So I'm going to look right here and get the official name of it. There is a website called Cruise Mapper. Okay, it's cruisemapper.com. And with that app, you're able to see exactly what ships are in port that day. And so what I loved about this app and how this helped me was I was able to see that the day that we were porting in Santorini, there were only a total of 3 ships that were going to be there. Now, sometimes, like, there are 8 ships that will come to Santorini the same day. So you can imagine what the fiasco is if you have to use that cable car, which you can walk up the steps. So like I mentioned in the video, walking up the steps is an option. You can pay to have a donkey ride you up all the way up those steps. I wouldn't recommend that. And I think that's just, you know, the donkey, that's just mean. Don't sit on the donkey and have him going up the steps. And if he trips, that's it for you. So the donkey was completely out of the question. So I will say, like, pretty much I knew, like, the cable car was the only way to go. But going on Cruise Mapper, I was able to see what time everyone was leaving. So the fact that my photo shoot was at 5 in the afternoon, there should have been ample time for me to do my shoot and get back to the ship. The shoot was going to last an hour. It's supposed to be from 5 to 6. And I should have been done. However, the photographer ran late because of the previous people. And so my shoot didn't start until much later than it should have. So I would recommend, if you can get in that 4 o'clock spot, I would say if I would have done 4 o'clock, that would have given enough time for the photographer to be late or any other emergencies that would have come up. So that means I would recommend getting off the ship at 2, scheduling your photo shoot for 4. Now, when you look at Cruise Mapper, this is going to determine what ships are in port the day that you're there, and it's going to tell you what time those ships are leaving. And so what I think is the best method to do is what I did. And you want to try to schedule your shoot around the times of those other ships. So Virgin Voyages is one of the cruises that is going to leave very late in the day. And this cruise mapper site is going to show you every ship that's going to be in port and tell you how many people are on those ships. So, you know, if like, I'm just looking at the list now, and I'm going to pop the list here in the screen too. But just looking here for September 8th while I'm recording, it tells you one ship leaves at, let's see, what is the 20th hour? 4 hours back, 8. So one leaves at 8 and one leaves at 7. And so those people that have to be on at 8, 9 times out of 10, they're going to start moving 2 hours before. So 6 o'clock is going to be a hot time to be trying to come back to the ship. All right, so now that you know how to book your photographer and everything, let's talk about what the process looks like while you're doing your photo shoot. So Goddess Santorini uses a pop-up tent. Now, I have heard horror stories of people like huddling in corners and getting dressed outside. But the company I use, they use a pop-up tent, which was fine with me. We were just in the center of a random building. We went up there and I had to get out of my clothes and into the dress, and then like just come out kind of holding the straps up, and then they tied me up. Now, what I will say here as far as recommendations is, one thing that I did while I was on the cruise was I went ahead and did my makeup. Now, Santorini is hot. I will say that, and a lot of people were telling me before I went there to be sure to bring an umbrella, just because, you know, to help with the sun, and, you know, you don't want your makeup to start melting and all of that. So what I would recommend you do is pack a little bag that has like a touch up where you can like touch your makeup up right before your shoot. Bring a little compact mirror, because there may or may not be access to a restroom. For me, there was a restroom at the cafe. There was a restroom at the cafe, but there wasn't a restroom that I could just go in with that dress on. So I had to like use my phone as a mirror and, you know, touch up my makeup there. I would bring like some blotting wipes just in case you started sweating. But most importantly, I would bring a handheld fan. You guys know, if you watch my videos, you know how much I love my handheld fan. That fan made all the difference in keeping my makeup set and keeping me from like getting hot, because I was stressed, and when I'm stressed, I started sweating. So I definitely would have broken out in a sweat, but having that fan helped me, you know, keep my face cool and keep everything in position while I was doing that dress shoot. As far as what you need to wear, since you are going to be changing into that dress, and you do typically remove your bra, because the dress is cut here in the front. I don't know if you can tape yourself up or what options you have if you need that, or you have like a fuller chest. But I will say, like, for me, the best thing I could have done was I wore a maxi dress that I was able to just pull up and pull off. I had on my bra, my underwear under it. And once I got in that tent and got in that dress, all I had on was my underwear. So definitely wear some nice underwear, because when they're tying you up, there's a good chance they're going to see them. So this is not the time to wear your drawers that you should have thrown out a long time ago. So it's not bad though. Like it's not an awkward, like they're going to see it. It's just when you're tying the dress, you just don't know what's going to be exposed. And so having that maxi dress that I could just kind of jump in and jump out of made a world of difference, because I can imagine trying to get in and out of jeans when you've been sweating and hot and all of that. So I would recommend something airy and like a maxi dress when you go to actually do your shoot. Doing my makeup on the ship was definitely a win. Wearing that dress, and also I had some hiking shoes. So if you don't know, Santorini is known for being very hilly. The ground is just really hot. And it's just like, it's very uneven. So I wouldn't recommend wearing like flat flip-flops. I will say there wasn't a ton of walking, so I think I could have managed it. But I had like these hiking shoes, which I'll put here in the video. And even though they weren't the cutest things, I was like, these things are pretty ugly. But when I tell you, I climbed like a mountain in them. They were so perfect for walking through Santorini and walking through that hot ground. And they Velcro, so it was easy to slip them off and on really quickly, because you are changing locations during the dress shoot. All right, so now that you're in your dress, let's talk about what the experience is like and what's going on. So the photographer is going to know where you need to go and where the best options are for shots. I did mine, like I said, around 5 or 6 p.m. So the benefit to doing it in the afternoon was that it wasn't as hot. So I didn't deal with the extreme heat when we were taking the photos. And the sun was setting. So I had like a very beautiful backdrop. Like I told you guys, my photos don't have very much editing done to them. I know my videos don't either. And so being able to do it during that time created like such a beautiful scene, and I feel like I didn't deal with the heat. So I would recommend getting it done in the afternoon, but you just have to be very precise about making sure that you get back to your ship on time, because that is my biggest fear, is like missing the ship. And so I do not want to be a pier runner, and I do not want to miss the ship. So that was what really kind of had me on edge during my video. But during the dress shoot, they're taking you to these different locations, and you'll see like my photo here where I was like standing in the blue, like top buildings were in the background, and you're standing on this staircase. There are people like all around, and I'm not talking about like 3 or 4 people. I'm talking about there's like 100 people standing around, all capturing photos, trying to get that same view and trying to get photos there. And so it's just very, very chaotic. What I will say is, when it comes to Santorini, one thing that I've heard about Greece, and in any area really where there are like a ton of people and slim streets where they walk very close to you, is that pickpocketing is a thing. Now, I did not experience that, but one thing that I did to help me through that was I wore a fanny pack, and I used the fanny pack from Minofarina, which I love, love, love. It's big and spacious, and it held like the fan and all of my stuff in it, so plenty of room. And so having that fanny pack, I was able to keep my things like right on my waist and close to me, or either like lay it across my body where I had it like right here, where I didn't have to worry about having my bag behind me and someone like unzipping it and going through it and taking something. So I think that that's a big tip, is like definitely invest in a good fanny pack. And when you're taking your photos, you can either give your fanny pack to the photographer or the assistant, or, you know, they'll sit it somewhere where they can see it and like kind of keep an eye on it. But definitely you want to keep an eye on your stuff too. But when they're taking these photos, like sometimes, like when I took that photo on the steps, I had to actually wait. And that was what really gave me like a lot of anxiety, was you have to wait on people in front of you to finish, because everyone's using the same spot. Like I said, there are hundreds of photographers out there. And so, you know, you may be waiting a little while for someone to get finished in this spot so that you can get your photos taken. And so just keep that in mind. Like, so that's why I say it's good to have those shoes that you can put on and off, because if that ground is hot, you're going to be standing there barefoot waiting on, you know, someone to take that photo. So they're going to be trying to like capture your photo without getting people in the background, and there are people all over. So just be prepared and know that people are going to be looking at you. So if having people look at you while you're taking photos makes you nervous, definitely just kind of be prepared for that. I think you can do it. Like nobody said anything negative to me, or nobody's really saying anything. They're just kind of like curious and like, what's going on? Like, what do her photos look like? What does she look like? So keep that in mind, that there are people all around. I did have some people talk to me at one of the locations, which is another reason why I didn't get a lot of video. And they were just like, what is this? Like, we've never seen this. We're visiting out here too. And, you know, I think that's so cool that you're doing it. So people may ask you questions about the process and everything. Yeah, so that is what the experience is like. And the last thing I want to say is definitely, and this is one of the tips I always give to my solo travelers, is you definitely want to add the Facebook group of your particular cruise if you're going on a cruise. This is not just for a Santorini dress shoot. This is for anything that you're doing on cruising, because what that is going to allow you to do is to connect and just kind of see. You don't even have to comment. Like, join that Facebook group and just look at what people are talking about. And so, you know, this is how I found out that someone wanted to do this dress shoot and had made this kind of arrangement with Goddess Santorini, where, you know, if everyone came at this time, it would be half the price than it normally would be to reserve an entire hour to yourself. Now, if you want an hour to yourself, you balling, that's great. But like, having that price cut was the only way I was able to pull this off, just because it was just so last minute and just so unexpected that I got to do this. But that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully I covered everything and kind of talked more about the experience and what you should do. Thank you guys for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the comments on the other vlogs. Bye!